Welcome to the Markets Happy Hour podcast, a weekly markets update for investors the world over. Each week we discuss inflation, geopolitics, interest rates, equity markets, and other asset classes. To try to answer the question, what does this mean for my investment portfolio? Let's dive in.
So a lot of concern and sell-offs in the likes of Visa, MasterCard over the course of this week. Other news relating to AI is more recent. We've just seen in the last 24 hours an announcement that there will be a cut of 40% of Block's workforce. That is the former Square, a fintech company set up by Jack Dorsey. And he was fairly forthright in his discussion of why these cuts were being made, that essentially they had the ability now, thanks to AI agents, to be a leaner company with more focused employees, more productive, thanks to them being able to harness this. His decision had been to take an initial large cut instead of taking a series of small, painful cuts, with a generous severance package provided. But this was 4,000 employees and 40% of their workforce. This again sent a chill through the Twitter sphere and through the social media sphere as a harbinger of things to come. It was suggested that Jack Dorsey, as a visionary, was perhaps taking the harsh medicine initially, and that as when Jack Dorsey, so would other entrepreneurs and CEOs. We do know that Block stock was rewarded significantly for this indication, but we've also seen other stocks being rewarded for their suggestion that they would bring into place cost cutting. So this is nothing new in particular. I think it is also worth pointing out that when Elon Musk took over Twitter, which was another company run by Jack Dorsey, he also made sizable headcount cuts to the tune of 80%. So whether we think Jack Dorsey is a visionary or whether his companies are just very well staffed, this remains to be seen. But I think this was the chilling piece of news that we really did not need in AI over the course of this week. Second piece of news we've seen is Anthropic taking a strong stance with the Department of War in terms of Claude not allowing Claude to be used, putting guardrails in place for unmanned weaponry as well as for citizen surveillance. Claude has always, Anthropic has always drawn the lines in terms of having a constitution and really thinking hard about the ethical implications of its agent. I'd say that this, again, is an indication of more friction that we are likely to see. When one AI company takes a stand like this against the federal government, perhaps it gives more ammunition for other companies to draw their own lines in terms of ethical use of AI. But what was most chilling, I had thought, from that particular statement was a recognition by Anthropic that the model was not to be trusted, essentially, with unmanned weaponry, and that this was a reflection of its own limitations. We know in the past that there have been concerns around the Molt book development, for example, around the potential for AI not to be trusted without guardrails. And this, again, coming from the call coming from inside the house, typically, is another sign of that concern. So quite a bit of news flow relating to AI. It is generally reflected in this rotation we've talked about for many weeks, rotation away from the hyperscalers, away from large tech, into other sectors, still including the picks and shovels. But I would say that these latest pieces of somewhat dramatic news, each one is really feeding into just a moderating and a modulating of sentiment when it comes to big tech.